2 weeks after their wedding, Vine found herself in the midst of yet another argument with Jungkook. This was the third time after their marriage. That too, with her trying her best not to get any of their talks into a heated argument. But to her, it seems like he's finding ways to argue with her. They stood in the elegant living room, their voices raised in frustration as they clashed over something trivial. Vine's heart pounded in her chest as she tried to reason with her husband, but Jungkook's anger only seemed to escalate with each passing moment. I can't do this anymore, Jungkook, Vine said, her voice trembling with emotion. I cannot live like this, always walking on eggshells around you. Jungkook's jaw clenched as he glared at her, his fists clenched at his sides. What do you want from me, Vine? He snapped. I have given you everything you could possibly need. What more do you want? Who told you I needed any of this? Vine replied, her eyes pleading to let her go after all. You're talking about the house, the cars. Are they even mine? You don't let me go anywhere out of the house. I feel so suffocated and restricted in this house, listening to your orders all the time. Her voice being done with him. She felt some tears forming in her eyes. Jungkook's eyes narrowed slightly, a hint of annoyance flicking across his face. You want to go out of the house, not even 2 days after marriage? He bore his eyes into hers as he asked. Vine sighed. It's not about that, she said, tired of explaining things to him. It's about your controlling behavior. How you told me on our first night. No going out, no raising voice, no going against you. I'm not your toy. This needs to be sorted out right from the start, she said, her voice filled with determination. I don't want to live my whole life like this. She shook her head. Jungkook's expression darkens, his jaw tightening as he heard her words. I'm not controlling Vine. I'm just looking out for you. Vine. Looking out for me? More like stifling me. I cannot breathe, Jungkook. I feel like I'm living in a prison. Her voice softened while saying that. Jungkook rises from the couch, his frustration boiling over. I'm trying to protect you, Vine. This world is dangerous, especially for someone like you. If you listen to me, you will be protected. Vine scoffed, folding her arms against her chest. Well, I appreciate your concern, but I need to be protected, not caged. She stared deep into his eyes. Sorry, but this is not the way to protect. Jungkook's eyes flashed with anger, his voice rising in intensity. I just can't let you roam free. You're my wife, and I need to know you're safe. Fine. Don't you mafias have any other ways to protect someone other than caging them? She said in a low whisper. However, it was not about me going outside. It's about your controlling behavior, about everything. She paused for a second. I won't live like that. Their voices echo in the room, the tension between them palpable as they stared in front of each other, staring deep into each other's souls. Fine. How long are you going to do this? She asked, Her voice felt tired. I won't let you down if you give me the chance to be your wife instead of your servant. You need to trust me. Jungkook, trust is earned, Wine, and you haven't given me any reason to trust you lately. Wine's eyes widened in disbelief, her flushing across her face and eyes. Wine, I can't believe you just said that, Jungkook. After so many days of me bearing your behavior and not saying anything. Her jaw clenched as she found answers in his eyes. Jungkook's anger softened slightly at the pain in her voice. I'm sorry, Vine, but I can't change who I am, and I won't apologize for wanting to protect my woman. Vine's shoulders slump in defeat, tears welling up in her eyes as she realizes the depth of all of this, especially his eyes, which contained no love for her, no matter how deep she looked. Vine, you're not protecting me. She stared in his eyes. I don't know why you can't understand this simple thing. I'm sorry, Jungkook, but if things don't change between us, I don't know how much longer I can stay. Jungkook's heart clenches at her words, the pain in her eyes and the shiver in his voice. He was also feeling a bit of those emotions, warm emotions that he didn't feel in a long time, and he didn't want to feel them too. It made him weak. He sighed and looked away from her. Let's talk about this later, he said, and went outside the room. She closed her eyes in frustration, and the tears that were stuck in her eyes finally fell down. She sat on the bed and cried her eyes out while telling herself that she did good. She herself was afraid of talking to him, but she knew if she didn't do it now, she would have to live her whole life like this. She didn't want to talk to him like this, but she didn't want to live like this either. She had to fight for herself because no one was going to do it for her, which frightened her. Jungkook sat in his study room, thinking about the things happened moments ago. His heart filled with anger. His clenched fists hit the table in frustration as he stared at the blank wall in front of him, remembering how he felt a little weaker in front of her day by day. He cannot do a simple task of making her listen to him. Because if he wanted to, she wouldn't be saying a damn word. But no matter how hard he's trying, he tends to get soft and leave her be, which infuriates him. He doesn't have to think about this. He has many important things to think and worry about, let alone having his emotions disturbed because of a simple argument with his wife. He decided to let her do what she wants so that she stops clinging around him. He went out in frustration, covering his way to their bedroom, but he didn't find her there. He went outside and screamed her name to find her, but no reply came. Finally, he went downstairs towards the kitchen and found her talking to one of the maids. Are you sure this will snatch his anger away? Fine asked from the maid as she held a bowl full of meat in her hand. Maid, of course, no matter how angry he is at home, he always seems to enjoy soup I make. It dissolves his anger immediately. The mayor smiled. while looking at Vine. Vine, thank you so much. You can go now. I will make this for him today. The maid thanked her, and while going outside, she found Jungkook standing outside the kitchen, hearing all of their conversations. She was startled but didn't make a noise and quietly left them alone. Jungkook's fists loosened, his breathing fastened, his eyes carrying tears. He couldn't believe this. He lashed out all of his anger on her, tried to control her, to shut her up, but all she still cares about is him, so that he doesn't stay angry because of her. He didn't deserve her. The emotions he was trying so hard to avoid burst in his heart to the point that he couldn't control it. After a while, Vine came in his study with the soup in her hand and a bottle of wine together with it, but she didn't find him there. She went to their bedroom, but he wasn't to be seen. She wandered in the house trying to find him, and finally one of the servants told her that he saw Jungkook going towards the basement. A smile appeared on her face as she headed towards it. She was happy to serve him even if he was angry on her. Inside, she herself is the soft, innocent wife who acts to be all bold, trying to fight for herself. As she took each step, she knew it made her closer to him. She was hoping that he likes her handmade soup so that they can have that talk again with a cool mind. But as soon as she caught sight of him, her eyes widened. She saw the face of him that she never did, and she was scared to see him like this. Her heart thundered in her chest as she stayed frozen at her place, staring at him. She didn't expect this side of him at all. To be continued.